Hello, everyone, and this is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling on September 29th, 2016. And well, as you all know, and probably if you've been watching news as well, that this was also the final Impact before the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. And quite possibly the final Impact ever. We don't know. As of this recording, nothing's come out about a potential sale of TNA Impact, but it looks like it's going to actually happen this time. It might be selling away from the Carter family over to a number of different sources. Either one has been over to Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins. And the other one that's really been out there that a lot of places have been reporting on, that WWE is potentially selling, or not selling, but buying the TNA library. And no one knows where everything's going. And there's even a slight hint up in the air of whether or not Bound for Glory is even going to air on Sunday. I personally think it is. So we're going to go through everything and how they went with the entire show tonight. And in all honesty, like I said, they're acting as if the show is going to air. So let's see what ends out going, because this is going to be a crazy news-filled weekend going into the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. If something comes up, I will probably do another recording of what happened. But let's go through Impact Wrestling this week. They started off the show with EC3 and Lashley, and basically naming their teams for Lethal Lockdown. And, well, what do you know? Lethal Lockdown was a way of trying to mesh a lot of feuds together. And you did get some promo time along with those particular feuds, because Michael Bennett, Drew Galloway, and Maria. Yeah, that's right, Maria, because they had to choose a knockout as well to go into Lethal Lockdown with them. We're going to be on Lashley's team, while Moose, Aaron Rex, and Gail Kim we're going to be on EC3's team. Like I said, I said this last week when they made an impromptu 10-man tag. It was one of those ways of getting a lot of these guys together before the actual pay-per-view, and then you just mesh them all together. Now, they did have a little bit more meaning behind this, because obviously the winning team here was gonna would allow either Lashley or EC3 to name the lockdown, the actual lockdown, or not lockdown, but the Bound for Glory pay-per-view stipulation. So you had like meetings with, like, you had promos backstage with Lashley's team, and Lashley was like, oh, if someone takes out EC3, I'm going to grant them a title shot after Bound for Glory or something in that sense, and everything, and to, motivate, like, Drew and Michael Bennett for that. EC3's out there, and, like, it looks like all of them are just kind of there wanting to get their hands on their respective people that they're going to be going up against on Sunday to go along with it. So you had promos like that going throughout the entire show, and you even had a coin flip where it's like, who's going to get the man advantage, and Lashley's team gets the man advantage throughout the entire thing. Though usually the heels end out always getting the man advantage, no matter what. That's how Lethal Lockdown seems to work. But I'll talk about that in a little bit, because there was a few other things going on. Because you had DJZ going up against Eddie Edwards, and what was a good match. I thoroughly enjoyed this match. DJZ went over, and you had an attack by Trevor Lee and Andrew Everett after the match. This, it almost makes you feel like they were going to have some kind of Bound for Glory X Division style match, but no matches on the card right now. And it just goes off the play. It's like, oh, there's no X Division match on the card. It's kind of weird that there isn't one on the card at this point in time. Maybe they do something when it airs to get the X Division in there in some way, shape, or form. But this might be, that's one of those aspects of, did we see the X Division for the last time? Right? In that sense of everything. But like I said, DJZ and Eddie Edwards, I thought, really good match. The two of them went off there. And if everything does continue with TNA Impact You have something with Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee to go along with it. All in all, not a bad segment to go along with everything. You had Ali and Maria having a segment backstage, basically going over what happened last week with the public workout and everything. And she basically runs down Ali even more. Like, they're teasing this turn that Ali's just going to go after Maria at some point in time. Way too much for it to not happen. And Maria basically has her go out there along with Laurel to have her match, for her debut match and everything in that sense. And Laurel's debut match was up against Madison Rayne. It was an okay match. It was basically there again to kind of push the buttons of Ali a little bit more and more and more and more as they go into the pay-per-view on Sunday. So it served its purpose in that sense of everything. You also had interviews throughout the entire night. So obviously, like you have EC3 and Lashley. You have Michael Bennett and Moose, Gail Kim, and Ali, Drew Galloway, and Aaron Rex. They're all having their own separate matches, but they're in Lethal Lockdown tonight. So they had interviews to kind of get these matches over a little bit more. Like Michael Bennett and Moose, they had a sit-down interview to promote their match a little bit more. Same with Gail Kim and Maria. Both, I thought, were really good promos. They came off really well, and they played off to the characters and how the match and how the storyline had been going throughout the entire time. And it was just one last little snippet going into the pay-per-view itself. Drew Galloway and Aaron Rex had an in-ring promo. I thought they delivered a really good promo over the Grand Championship and the importance of the match and everything in that sense of everything. And I thought they just delivered really good promos. A lot of good promos tonight, actually. Decay has a promo before this match with Rebby Sky and Rosemary, and the match itself between Rebby Sky and Rosemary, it wasn't all that good. But then again, Rebby Sky, I guess, had never really been that good in the ring, and you haven't really seen Rosemary too much either to that sense of everything. So, like, in the terms of technical prowess and everything like that, it wasn't that good of a match, but it kind of served its purpose of what it needed to do going into the Great War with the Broken Hardys and Decay. The end of the in-ring segment ends with Matt and Brother Nero, or Jeff Hardy, going up against Abyss and Crazy Steve. They brawl to the back. They all brawl to the back, and you have Rosemary and Rebby still out there in the arena. Rebby gets put through a table by Rosemary by a side effect, and when they come back from commercial break, you see a continuation, like even more brawling and fighting throughout the entire arena, kind of like what they were gonna expect. And they're finally hinting what the Great War is going to do. They hint this throughout this entire segment here with Decay and the Broken Hardys. One, it's going to start in the ring, and then it's probably going to go outside the ring area, and lead into more film segments like they were showing throughout the arena here throughout the night, where you had Crazy Steve going after Brother Nero with a chair, and they were doing some more creepy style horror films areas. Same with Abyss and Matt Hardy. You had little snippets here and there. They have Decay go over, and you have this final little scene as they're playing symphony music the entire time. It comes off very good. I liked it. Just the added touch of the symphony music, and it has this little aspect of all three, like Rosemary being in a separate spot, Crazy Steve being in a different area, and Abyss being in a different area, just saying decay, 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 and they kind of go out like that. I thought it came off really good. It did come off really good in that sense, and now that you kind of get a sense of where they're going, with the Hardys and Decay and how the match is going to work at Bound for Glory, I'm looking forward to it a little bit more, because it's like, it was still up in the air, like, how are they going to do this? Was this going to be just something that was in the ring area the entire time, or was it going to be something they filmed and the crowd's just going to get to see it? No, it's going to, they're giving you a sense it's going to be a mixture of both, and I'm looking forward to where they're going with this for Sunday. And this leads into the main event, which was Lethal Lockdown. Basically, your standard fare Lethal Lockdown, with the exception of no lowering of the roof, and the weapons were already there, but no one was allowed to use the weapons until everyone entered the ring. Really weird how they decided to go with this Lethal Lockdown. The aspect of Maria and Gail Kim, they did not stay in there long. They basically both got in the ring, and then Gail Kim chases off Maria after everyone gets in there. Your standard fare, though, the standard fare, like a team kind of gets an advantage, and then the next person comes in and it kind of switches, and the next person kind of comes in and it switches back and forth. It leads to the end where Lashley chokes out EC3, who is trying to get to the bottom rope, but it doesn't cause the break because there's no disqualification in that case. So he passes out from the chokehold, which allows Lashley to basically name a stipulation, which he decides to name it a no-holds-barred match for the pay-per-view. Okay match. I've never been a big fan of Lethal Lockdown because it's kind of like a paint-by-numbers style match now, because they kind of just do the same thing over and over again. But not a bad match and not a bad way of going out. And I like the aspect of, it being named a no-holds-barred match. It wasn't like some crazy out there stipulation for their match at the pay-per-view itself. But overall, relatively good Impact. I thoroughly enjoyed it. They did what they needed to do to promote Bound for Glory. I know it's up in the air and everything. This is like literally the first time I've kind of believed that it's potentially up in the air whether or not something's going to air, because apparently they had this same issue with the Sacrifice pay-per-view earlier this year. And now it's up in the air, and it's like legitimately saying that TNA is probably going to be sold sometime this weekend to another company, whether it be to Billy Corgan, whether it be to an outside group of people that had not necessarily been within TNA or anything like that, or there's even that rumor that, yes, it's going to go to the WWE and they're going to have the video library and everything in that sense. So everything's kind of up in the air. I feel like Bound for Glory is going to air. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about each segment in the show itself. We'll see how everything goes. See what news comes out this weekend as well. Like if it does get sold before the Bound for Glory pay-per-view, I'll probably make another video at that point in time. But for this point in time, that is my review for TNA Impact Wrestling this week. Hopefully we come back next week with another one. I thank you guys for watching, and have a great day.